Christmas is around the corner, and you may be feeling overwhelmed with what is to come with your finances. That is why I wanted to bring back this episode that will help you simplify your finances so you can enjoy the holidays with your family. I wish you a very Merry Christmas and thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. Sending you un abrazote. You did it. You have found your judgment free zone, the Her Dinero Matters podcast, a bilingual podcast for women who want to become reinas of their money and love their dinero more. I am your host, Jen Hemphill, a former extreme frugalist turned reina of your money advocate. Each week, I'm going to help you reign your money like that queen that you are with inspiring interviews and panel discussions from La Comunidad Latina and with solo episodes sharing simple, actionable tips and strategies. Thanks for spending some time with me today. And now let's jump into today's dose of money confidence. ¿Qué tal? This is Jen Hemphill, and I'm so happy you joined me today. I know for a lot of people, managing that dinero can be overwhelming. It can be frustrating. It's one of those things that you do for a little bit, whether budgeting or really being more disciplined with saving, and then something happens and then you stop. Are you with me? Have you been there? Because I've been guilty of that. So today, the focus of today is really how you can simplify your financial life because sometimes we think we're doing things to simplify. And yes, that may be true, but there are some things that I want to discuss with you today that really will make a difference. But before we do, I wanted to check in with you. We are starting October and COVID has been happening for quite a while. So I wanted to see how you are doing. How are you coping with this pandemic, with what's going on? And then now, of course, it's really crazy with the elections. Let me know. Let me know on social media. Send me a DM on Instagram. And I just want to see, I really want to know how you are doing. How are you coping? Are you because I know personally, I've had the ups and downs. Recently, it's been like, ugh, I don't even want to get on social media just because it's draining. Emotionally, it's draining. So I wanted to ask you about that. So again, just DM me on Instagram or send me a message, Jen at jenhemphill.com. That's my email. So you can send me an email. Now, as far as today, I mentioned that we are focusing on really simplifying your financial life. So here is a snippet of what you're going to hear today. You're going to hear the three main areas that you need to pay attention to, as well as one perspective that you can change right now. You will also hear what your current season in life has to do with your money, as well as the one mistake most people make when organizing their finances. So let's get right into it. So, here are the three ways to simplify your financial life, or the three areas, not the three ways, because we're going to dive deeper in each of the ways. So, the first way is focusing on the mind. The second area is the now, and I'll explain what that is. And the third area to simplify as a way to simplify your life is the system. So, the mind, the now, and the system. So let's dive deep with the mind. When we're talking about the mind, you might be thinking she's going to mention mindset again. She always talks about mindset. Yes, I think that's important, but I'm not going to mention it directly in this episode. What I am going to talk to you about in regards to the mind to help you simplify your life is number one is to clear that clutter in your mind. We are busy, especially now more than ever. We've got a ton on our mind. We maybe have worries. We may feel emotionally drained with everything going around us. Maybe something personal is going on, something in the family, something at the job, in your business, whatever that is, it takes up a lot of space in your mind. And so you want to clear the clutter in your mind because by clearing the clutter in your mind, you're going to be able to think more clearly. So you're going to be able to manage money more simply, make better financial decisions. So, how do you actually clear that clutter in your mind? You're probably asking. You would do this in one way. Well, I'm sure there's other ways, but this is the way that I'm recommending. You journal, you write it down. You just take everything that's on your mind and you take a notebook, and it's kind of like a brain dump. Whatever's on your mind goes on that paper. If it's a worry, if it's some sort of excitement about something, if it's maybe a pressing student loan that you just is just weighing on your shoulders, write it down. And it's not just, let's say it's a student loans that is just really weighing heavily on your shoulders. It's not just, oh, the student loans are bothering me. Okay. You need to dive deeper into that. Like, what is it making you feel? How are you feeling? Describe that feeling in this very moment. So, clearing the clutter in your mind by just taking a notebook and write and just basically dedicating that notebook. Go to Target, go on Amazon, find yourself a notebook, or if you've been to conferences that they give a lot of those notebooks and there, use one of those and take, even just in the mornings, like first thing in the morning when you wake up or you're having your tea or your coffee, and just throw everything on that piece of paper of that journal, everything that's your mind, how you're feeling, any stressors, any excitement, gratitude as well. You can do that. All of that, just write that down. And that helps you clear the clutter in your mind. And again, by doing that, you're going to see things more simply. Money all of a sudden is not going to be as complicated because you don't have so much bogging your brain down. All right. So I hope you take me up on that and do that. The other thing, number two, when it comes to the mind, is to change your perspective from I have to, I should, I need to do this, I should pay that bill, I should pay that debt off, I have to save that money, I need to do this or that. Instead of saying those things, change it to I get to. I get to pay those bills. I get to pay some of that debt off, or I get to pay the debt off. I get to save. I get to make better decisions today by not stopping at the Starbucks. I get to. So change your perspective from I should, I have I need to I get to. So if you catch yourself saying I should, I have to, or I need to, or if you have kids that are around you, that have them catch that. Just ask them, could you do me a favor? If you hear me say I should, or your partner, if you hear me say I should, I have to, or I need to, get me, just correct me. So kids will do that. They're really good about doing that. So change your perspective to I get to. Number three is know that you don't have to do it all at once. I repeat, you don't have to do it all at once. Trust me, the world is not going to collapse. Everything's going to be there. There is that saying that you are where you need to be. That's always true. I believe in that. So if you have on your goals or things that you want to do is paying off your debt, increasing your savings by 10%, and then I don't know what else. Know that you don't have to do it all at once. You can focus on one thing at a time, especially if you have other things in your life, not necessarily directly financial, but taking care of family. Maybe you have a loved one that needs more extra care. Maybe you've got more responsibilities at work or in your business, and it's just a lot, right? So you don't have to do it all at once. Take one thing, one aspect of your financial life, focus on that. Once you master it, if you will, and I don't have a better word for that, I want to say master it, but once you feel good about it, that you can add on another thing and not add on another layer, then do so. Okay. So that's number three, just to remind yourself you don't have to do it all at once. Number four is to use the daily dinero ritual. That is a free tool, a free resource that you have access, that I have created for you. Chances are you already have it if you've downloaded it and you've opted in for it, and maybe you just haven't used it. So I implore you to use it. Or maybe this is the first time you're hearing of it. But if you've been listening to this podcast and you've been listening to then, or have you been listening to then, you will hear about the daily dinero ritual. And you can get that at jenhemphill.com/dinero. And simply, in a nutshell, with this, again, free tool, this free resource, you are able to focus and more with your finances in a different way. You are going to be celebrating your money wins. You're going to be acknowledging those money strengths. You're going to be catching those limiting beliefs that goes in the mind. And you're going to be reframing them into abundant ones. You're going to choose the focus for that week, or maybe that focus for that day, if that makes sense. If you're working on something financial that day, you are also going to be writing a love note to yourself in this daily dinero ritual. And this ritual, again, is daily. It doesn't have to take 30 minutes. It can take 10, 15 minutes, especially once, or even 10, maybe even 5, depending on, especially if you've gotten a whole, really been doing it, it's not going to take as long. So I really, really encourage you to download it. It's free. Again, it's gratis, no te cuesta nada. Entonces, that is at the Daily Dinero Ritual, and that's at jenhemphill.com/dinero. So, with all those things, that's a part of the mind, and that will help you simplify your financial life. Number 2, let's get into the now. That's another area. So, we've talked about the mind. That's an area. Doing those things that I talked about with the mind, it'll help you simplify your financial life. The second area is the now. You need to gain clarity or get clarity on the current season of your life. What is going on currently? And you have to understand what that is. You may be in this current season of your life, especially with a pandemic, maybe you are adjusting to one salary and you've had to make adjustments, like serious adjustments. Maybe the current season in your life, you are dealing with a sickness of a loved one and you've had to make adjustments. Maybe in your current season of your life, there's a new baby on the way. So, what is that current season of your life looking like? Because that determines the direction. If you think about it, that really determines the direction of where your money goes. It determines the direction of your goals as well. I'm taking a quick moment to share with you a special message. Her Dinero Matters is supported by First Republic Bank, committed to offering secure digital banking at your fingertips with the redesigned First Republic mobile app. From personalized notifications that alert you to unusual spending activity to customizable settings that prohibit unauthorized purchases, the First Republic mobile app lets you safely manage access to your finances. You can even turn your debit card on or off if it's lost or stolen, no phone call or in person visit required. And because First Republic is dedicated to being there when you need them most, you can contact your banker directly through the app anytime, day or night. Safeguard your spending today with the First Republic Bank mobile app available on the App Store and Google Play. Visit firstrepublic.com/digital to learn more. That's firstrepublic.com/digital. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Number 2, in the area of the now, is you need to understand what has worked in the past and what hasn't. You need to look at, when you've been managing your money, what has worked and what hasn't, and obviously stick to what's worked. No, not what hasn't. And maybe it's an app that's really flashy, it looks really cool, but you just haven't stuck to it. If you haven't stuck to it and haven't been able to be consistent with it, ditch it. There's no sense in trying to just beat that over and over and trying to use it. So understand what has worked in the past and what hasn't. And you just need to know what you will stick to. Number 2, you need to know your current priorities. Again, that's why you need to understand your current season of life, what that looks like. That will help determine your priorities. And you want to rank those priorities. And you want to give yourself permission to change directions, especially in the season of your life. Maybe, or even pause some things that you've been doing. It's okay. Again, the world is not going to collapse because of it. You are not a failure because of it. You are actually making a decision that's best for you and your family. Remember, you are the expert in you. You are the expert in what you and your family need financially. So know your current priorities, rank those priorities. What do those priorities look like? Has it been the change in maybe it's a one salary or a decrease in income? And your priority is to find another job or increase the income or just making sure that more income comes in or adjusting what you're spending or both, right? So, what are your current priorities? Maybe before it was paying off a credit card debt, but maybe right now that's not the number one priority. It all depends on you, right? Everything is so individual and unique. So, know your current priorities, rank those priorities, and give yourself permission to change directions or even pause at some point in time. It's okay. The next thing is to have goals that are challenging enough, not no brainers. You don't want to have a goal that's a no brainer, meaning, let's say you have some money coming in, and let's say you have $1,000 coming in, bonus money, whatever, something like that, and you have $1,000 balance on your credit card, and you say your goal is to pay that off. That's a no brainer. If you already knew you were getting that money, and you knew that balance and you're like, I'm going to pay that off. That's not a challenging goal, right? Are you with me? All right. So you need to have goals that are challenging enough and you want to know the steps that are needed to get there, as well as the challenges that will get in the way. I'm not going to go into this because that's more like a goal setting session, but I want to just make sure that you know that you need to have those goals that are challenging enough. You need to know the exact steps that are needed, as well as those challenges that will get in the way. You need to address those challenges because if you address those challenges ahead of time, when those happen or if they happen, you're aware of it and you have a plan of how to navigate around those challenges. All right? So that is the area of the now. The third area to simplify your life is the system. Now, you need to make sure you have a system. Don't worry, is nothing complicated because that word system to me sometimes it's like it sounds like it's already complicated, but it's not. So you want to make sure you have a system for your finances. Now, here is where most people make a mistake. Most people think the system is having a budget, but the budget is just the map. It's the tool for your money. It's just basically saying you have this amount of money and this is where it's going to go to. So that is just a map. It's just a plan for your money. But you also need to take that map, that plan, and you need to put it into action. And that putting it into action is your system. Now, what does this system look like? It really varies on person to person, but you want to start out with figuring out your buckets. And buckets meaning buckets for spending, buckets for saving, buckets for investing, buckets for your goals, whatever those may be. And you need to figure out what those buckets are for you, what purpose they hold. And I just shared some of those purposes that they may hold. And how you do that is you take a look at your spending. And let's say you do a lot of spending at Amazon, like household, food, all of those things. Instead of creating a bucket for household, instead of creating a separate category for food, you can create a bucket for Amazon. And you know that at Amazon, you do the household, food, and that type of spending. Okay. Instead of, because the thing with budgets, sometimes people get a little overwhelmed because they feel like they have to go through the receipt and pull out, oh, this was toilet paper. Oh, this was clothing. Oh, this was food. That's a pain. That is a pain. I'm not going to lie to you. So instead, I find what's easier is to figure out a bucket for that. So if it's for your spending, if it's just mainly at Amazon, that can be a bucket. There are different budget trains of thought in terms of how much spent and what percentage should go to this or that. And that's fine. It's a good guidance. But if that doesn't work for you, there's the budgeting rules, right? Then that's okay. At least start out with looking at where your money is going and creating buckets around that. Maybe your goals, that can be a bucket. And you just need to do something that makes sense. And again, you can use those buckets on your budget as your main category. And from there, you can divvy up if that makes sense for you. Now, once you take those buckets, put it on your spreadsheet, on your budgeting tool, whatever that may be, then you take those buckets and make them 3D, meaning you can have cash envelopes for certain things if that works for you, or you can have virtual envelopes, meaning different accounts. So that's where you make it 3D because on your budget, that is just a plan. It needs to be put into action because if it's just on the budget and you leave it alone and nothing happens, you're not implementing your plan and that it doesn't do you any good. So those buckets again can be cash envelopes, virtual envelopes. And when I say virtual envelopes, again, the different accounts. And this can be different accounts for the spending, for the saving, individual accounts for those. Again, you have to do what makes sense. And I won't go into all the details on that. Then you take those dollar figures in your budget from your bucket and you automate those transfers to your buckets, or you designate a day that you're going to take that cash out for your cash envelope. So let me give you some perspective. So that way it's a little more visual for you. These are the buckets we have as a family. We have one for bills. So the money goes in there when we get paid. And then the only thing that happens in there is deposits for money getting paid and bills being deducted. Three things, actually. The money's being deposited, the money that we make, bills are getting paid from that. And then from there, we had a automated transfer to our different buckets. So that's what the bill account is for. We also have an account for daily spending. So that's where we pay our gas, where we do our groceries, eating out, that sort of thing. We have an emergency savings bucket or account. And as you can probably already tell, that's where all our emergency savings goes to. And we have financial goals. I have different buckets for those. And those financial goals include like the next car, include travel. Well, I don't know if I should call them financial goals, but just savings. And then I also have different buckets for what's people now call sinking funds, which is what I call the non-monthly expenses. So for the gifts, for the clothing, for any bill or any expense that comes annually or semi-annually or quarterly, those type of things. And then you just want to automate as much as possible. What makes sense for you? I know some people want to be intentional and don't want to automate some things. And I would say automate the most things, and the things that you want to be intentional about, then don't automate those things. But I'm a big fan of automating because we are all busy. Then once you do that, you want to create time, set times on your calendar just to see how things are working. You want to check in, you want to revise, you want to tweak, maybe that your system needs some tweaking, maybe you need to add something, delete something, whatever that is. So that is the system. That is the third area that if you do those things that I share with you, that will help you simplify your financial life. So let's do a recap. We learned the three areas that we need to take a look at in order to really simplify our financial life. Again, that was the mind, the now, and the system. We also, with the mind, we talked about clearing that clutter and changing our perspective from I should, I need to, I have to I get to. And with the now area, we discussed the importance of understanding our current season of life, what has worked for us financially, knowing our priorities, giving ourselves permission to stop putting, let's say, extra toward that debt, and instead of focusing our attention to that priority that moved up that list. And lastly, we discussed the system, which is the third area that will help simplify your life, which is how having a budget alone. We also discussed how having a budget alone was not enough and how to introduce buckets to simplify managing your money. Now, if you take what you learned today, and you don't have to apply it all at once, but if you take in just I said three areas. If you just focus on one area, then the second area, then the third area, and you apply it over time, I know you will find yourself managing your financial life easier. I know it because I have done this and things have shifted. things aren't as chaotic. Life may be chaotic, but managing our money isn't as chaotic. It's easier, it's simpler because over time, I have implemented these things. So I really encourage you to do the same. Now, don't forget to grab your daily dinner ritual because doing this is a part of that mind area, remember? And it will help you as well. It is free and you can grab it over at jenhemphill.com/dinero. Now, if you have it already and haven't been using it, yes, I see you. This is my gentle nudge to get on it, and you will feel better, and your bank account will thank you as well. If you don't have it, just grab it. Again, it's free. You just go to jenhemphill.com/dinero. Next week, we will meet Ina Coveney, who comes from a family that didn't lack much financially. But even with that, she's going to share with us her own personal struggles. It's such a fascinating discussion, so don't miss it. That is it. Eso es todo. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to tune into this show. You can check out the brief show notes over at jenhemphill.com/234. Remember that being the reign of your money starts now simply with claiming it. That's all you have to do. I believe in you, and so should you. If you love this podcast and love this episode, I would love it if you share it with someone you care about, and you can even be a stranger. And take a screenshot or a selfie and tag us in your Instagram stories with @HerDineroMatters with the one thing you love about the podcast or this specific episode. Bueno, pues, that is everything. Y nos hablaremos el próximo jueves. Ciao.